I'm using st.register number, then it will going to allow me to take the value. Let me consider that as 1, 2, 3. A structure can be defined as a member of another structure. So in the nested structure, the definition of embedded structure must appear before the definition of outer structure. An array of structure is an array in which each element of the array is a structure. Hello everybody, welcome back to the session 2 and last session of this chapter 14, that is structures. I am Rohini TS from the Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. In the previous session of this chapter, that is what 14th chapter, structures. So there I have discussed regarding what is the need of having this structure. That means structures, as we all discussed, it is nothing but it is a collection of predefined data type. I can also say that structure is a collection of heterogeneous data elements. When I wanted to have different kinds of data element together in my program, then that will be possible with the help of this structure concept. And also we have learned regarding how we are going to define a structure, so that we can say that as a structure of a structure. So first I have to specify the keyword called struct. So that is what the definition. So in I wanted to get to know I am using structure in my program, then I have to specify a keyword called struct and we have to give a name for the structure. So I need to specify the name of a structure, then we have to open a flat braces, then I have to specify the data type, then we have to specify the member name. How many members I can have in my program? So you can have n number of members in your program, and when I wanted to close the structure, don't forget to put this semicolon after the closing of flat braces. So this indicates what? Definition of a structure or a structure of a structure. Then we are going to declare a structure variable. How we are going to declare a structure variable? So this is definition. If I wanted to access these members, then I wanted to access it with the help of variables. How we are going to create a variable? For example, I have a structure called student. So I have a structure called student. I wanted to create a variable for this, then I have to specify a name of a student, that means name of a structure, then I need to take one variable. So this is how we can create a variable in order to access the content of a structure. Or else here, before closing the flat braces also, I can give the name of a variable, then I can put semicolon. That indicates that this variable is a variable of a structure called particular structure name, that what we have given there. This is what declaring of a structure, definition and introduction part. And how we are going to access the elements of a structure, which operator we are going to use, that is dot operator. So we are going to use dot operator in order to access the data elements of a structure. So in our today's session, I will be discussing regarding how we are going to take an input from the user by making use of a structure, and how we are going to display the content of a program by making use of the structure concept. So that program to input and display the information of a student. That means you have to understand that I wanted to create a structure of a student. That means it has to hold the information about the student. Then I will be discussing regarding how we are going to initialize the structure. So till now we have done the initialization for the normal variable. Then is it possible to initialize the structure also? That I will be discussing in my today's class, and also we are going to learn about this nested structure. Already we learned regarding nested looping and all we have learned. So in our today's session, we are going to learn about nested structure along with last concept, that is array of structure. We'll see the first topic, that is program to input and display the information of a student. So here we have a C++ program that in order to input and display the information of a student. So when I'm saying it as a student, you have to conceptualize. So what are the data members that I can make in order to deal with a structure called student? That means student may comprise of register number, name will be there, and they are going to opt some of the combination, and they are going to pay the fees. So these are the member that I am going to take in order to represent the structure called student. So we'll see the program now. Here I have 3 header files, that is what as include iostream.h, that is when I wanted to perform input output operation in my program, then I have to use cin and cout. So that cin and cout objects are in the class called iostream.h header file, so that it is mandatory to have this as include iostream.h, and I am taking iomanip.h. What is that? Input output manipulation dot header file. That means when I am using end L, that is end of a line in my program. So you can see that in our program we have a end L here. That means if I wanted to have the content of cout statement to be in the next line, then we are going to use this end L. So that is what the reason we are having iomanip.h here. Then I have a string.h. So in the program, I will be explaining what is the keyword or what is the function that we are taking, which belongs to the string functions. So already we have learned regarding the functions. There I have discussed what each header file will going to consist of. That means what are the function that belongs to particular header file. So here also we are going to use string.h header file. Then we have a void main. That is what the execution of a program, all the program will going to get started when it encounters void main. So that is what this I can call that as a entry point. So void is a return type. That means when I am using this void, it won't return any value back to the function. So at that situation we are going to use this void. But when I wanted to return some value back to the functions, or when I wanted to return some value back to the main function, then we have to use any other data type other than this void. So that void main and opening of a flower braces, that indicates the opening of a main function. Then now I have to define the structure of a student information. How we are going to do that? Already in the previous session we have learned how we are going to do the definition of a structure or a structure of a structure. So here if I consider the student structure, first I have to write a keyword called struct. That indicates that we are using a structure. Then what is the second one? That is tag. Tag is nothing but name of a structure. What is the name of a structure that I am taking here? That is student. Then opening of a flower braces, that too for this structure. Then here I have a 4 member data. That means I have 4 data elements of a structure called student. Which are those? I have a register number, I have a name, combination and percentage. These are the members, or else I can say that as a template which belongs to the structure called student. So now in register number is a element name, that is member name, which is of the data type integer. Then I have char name of 15. So if I ask you what's your name, are you going to say your name as in a single character? No, it's supposed to be a stream of character or a collection of character. So if I ask your name, are you going to say your name is what, M, N or something like that? No, it is just a collection of array or a stream of character. So that we don't have any data type which is called string. So instead of that, we are going to take array of character. That is what the reason we are having char name of 15. That means up to 15 character this name will going to hold. That means 15 bytes of memory will going to be allocated for this name. Next I have one more member, that is char combination of 15. That means this combination can hold up to 15 character. Then I have a float percentage. We are finding a percentage, that is what will be in the floating point variables. Then how we are going to close the scope of a structure? That I wanted to close the structure variable, or I wanted to close the structure with closing of flat braces with semicolon. But now I wanted to access the data. That means I wanted to input and I wanted to output or display the content of a student. Then I require one variable. So how we are going to create a variable? There are 2 methods. So here I have a student. So in order to create a variable, I can write it like this. Like after this closing of flat braces, I need to put semicolon. Then student st. This will be the one way of creating a variable. That means st is a variable which is of the data type student. Student is a structure here. It has the ability to hold different kinds of data elements. So this is one method, or else we can create like this. That means I am going to close the flat braces, and after that flat braces we are going to write a name of a variable. At last I need to put semicolon. This indicates the definition of a structure. Structure name is student and it has 4 data members, or 4 data elements it has, and variable name is st. If I wanted to access register number, I have to access it with the help of this st. If I wanted to show the percentage of a student, then also I need to use this variable called st. Okay, we'll see the next line. See out, enter the register number of the student. I'm taking a register number. That means I have to enter the register number. Register number is in the type of integer. We have to give a value which in the terms of integer or a whole number. How we are going to do that? Cin. I wanted to take the input. So at that time compiler come to this location or this point and it will wait for the user to enter the value. To where I wanted to give the register number, to which variable I wanted to give? I wanted to give the register number to the st variable. So that st dot register number. Why we are going to use dot? Already we have learned regarding dot operator. If I wanted to access, then I have to use dot operator. So that here if I am using st dot register number, then it will going to allow me to take the value. Let me consider that as 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this value will going to be stored in this variable. What we have next line? See out, enter the name of a student. I wanted to enter the name of a student. I'm using string.h header file. Then is it look nice if I'm not using a function which belongs to string.h header file? No, that is what the reason we are having here getLine. If I wanted to take a single character, then I have to use a function called get. But when I wanted to have a collection of character, or when I wanted to have a stream of character, then I have to use a function called getLine, and it is belongs to the header file called string.h. So we'll see what we have in the next line, that is cin.getLine. So already we have learned regarding the getLine. So getLine function belongs to either cout or cin, it belongs to cin. So that cin dot, I'm accessing the member function called getLine. So that within getLine I need to send 2 parameters. So one is what? Name of a string, and another one is size. What is the name of a string here? That is st. So st dot name. I wanted to access name. That is what? St dot name, and its size is 15. Then closing of parenthesis and put semicolon. This is how we are going to access. So now I can say that st dot name of, what is the size? 15 is equal to, I can take a name as ABC. Fine. Next, we'll see the next line. Here, see out, enter the combination of the student. I wanted to enter the combination of a student as we done for the name. So how we are going to do that? cin.getLine of st.combination. So here also size of a combination is 15. That doesn't mean that you have to take all the 15 character. So it is just like what? Up to 15 characters that you can take. So that st.combination. So I will write it as st.combination. Let me take that as a PCMC. Okay, so here it is holding only 4 character, but it has the ability to hold up to 15 character. Next, enter the percentage of the student. I just wanted to enter the percentage with cin st dot percentage. So that st dot percentage is equal to, let me consider that as a 98.2. Okay, why should I make this student unhappy? Let me give the percentage as 98.2. Fine. So now up to here I have taken the input from the user. Now I wanted to display. So what is my program? I wanted to take an input, I wanted to display. So we are done with the input. I wanted to give the display, or I wanted to give the output of a student information. How we are going to do that? Here, see out register number, where the register number has been stored, that is in the variable called st. So if I am using st.register number, what it will going to return? What we have in st.register number, that is 123, that will going to be displayed here. Then in the place of name, st.name, it will going to display ABC, and in the place of combination, it will going to access the content from the combination. There we have a PCMC, and see out percentage, st.percentage, there I have a percentage called 98.2. So you are using end L. So in order to end the line, for example, if I am not using a end line here, at that time how it will going to display 1, 2, 3 ABC. But if I am using a end L, then it will push the content of a C out to the next line. That means it will be like this. That is what the reason of having end L. And if you are not including end L, the output will be like this. I hope you all understood with this program, like in order to input and display the content. So at last get CH, and we are going to close the main function. This is regarding what? Sample program to take an input from a user and to display the user. Here we have used accessing of an element, that means accessing the members of a structure by making use of a dot operator. And we have defined the structure, we have created the variables, whatever we have done in the previous class, everything has been implemented with the help of this program. So here you can see the output, that is what sampled, and it will going to take a register number, name of a student, combination and a percentage, and it will be displayed on a screen as an output. We'll see the next topic, that is initializing a structure. Already we have a structure. So structure is a user defined data type. I can create a variable. So in the previous example program, there by making use of a st dot something like what, by making use of a variable name and dot operator, I have accessed the details of a student or any of the employee and all. But what if I wanted to initialize the own value? I don't want to ask the user. I just wanted to initialize the value from my side. So without asking the user, we wanted to initialize, or I wanted to give some initial value to the variables or a data elements of a structure. Then that is also possible by using this initializing of a structure. How we are going to do that? Already we have learned how we are going to define the structure. So here I am taking a structure called employee. That employee comprises of what? It has 4 data members or 4 data elements. It comprises of employee ID, name will be there, and designation is there, and their salary. Okay. Then how we are going to design the initialization of a structure? That is what you can see here. First I have to write a name of a structure. Then I have to write a variable of a structure. That means what is the variable that we are going to create for a structure, that we have to write. Then equal. So initialization, for that we are going to use a symbol called equal. So equal is different, is equal is different. So this is what initialization operator, and double equals I am using, that is equal to. I am checking whether it is equal to or not. So this is just what? Assignment. Whatever is at the right side will going to be assigned to left side. So for example, if it is like this, 10 is assigned to A, but if I am checking is 10 is equal to 20, what it will going to return? Is 10 is equal to 20? No, it will return false. So that is what the difference between equal to and is equal to. Okay, here I am using equal to, that means I am assigning the values. By opening up a flat braces, what is the first data member that we have there? That is what? Employee ID. So now employee ID has been initialized to 1, 2, 3, 4, and employee name has been initialized to Lakshmi, and employee's designation or occupation is initialized to manager, and salary will be 10,500, and we are going to close the structure. This is how the initialization of a structure will going to takes place. So before this, you have to define a structure, then you have to create a variable, then only it is possible to initialize the value for the structure. It could be employee or student, anything it could be. So here you can see that I can initialize the content of one variable to another variable. For example, consider I have a student structure. Let me consider I have a student and int register number, and let me consider name of 10, which is of the data type char, Okay, consider these two are the members or elements of a structure called student. Now, I wanted to create one variable std1 comma std2. This is what I am creating two variables std1 and std2 which is belongs to a structure called student. Then when we are doing this initialization, so now let me initialize the value for the student. How we are going to do that? First I have to take a name of a structure, that is what student. I will take a variable called std1. Then which operator I have to use? Equal to opening of a flat braces. Then what is the first data member? I have a register number. No need to take a double quotes because we are using because we are working with integer. What we have in the next one? That is name. Let me consider that as a Raju. So after this, I am going to close a flat braces with semicolon. This indicates the initialization which I have done only for the student 1. So I have one more variable called std2. What I wanted to do, I can also assign the content of this std1 to std2. That is what I am discussing here. So std2 is equal to std1. Whatever we have in std1, that value will going to be assigned to this std2. That is also possible. We can initialize the value to a particular variable, or else I can copy the content of one variable to another variable. So this is regarding what? Initializing of a structure. We'll see the next topic, that is nested structure. That means, what is nested structure? One structure is embedded within another structure. So as we all know that structure is a user-defined data type. It can have its own data elements. So when I'm using a particular structure as a data type, then we are going to call that as a nested structure. So that a structure can be defined as a member of another structure. We know that I have a structure there, I have some of the data elements, or I have a members of a structure. But when I am making another structure as a member of another structure, then we are going to call that as a nested structure. Okay, so you can take the example of you and your parents. Okay, so your parents will be the one structure called parent, and you will be one structure called either son or a daughter. Okay, so these are the two structures, and your parents will going to have their name, and they are having their age, and they are doing some work. They are going to have some property. Okay, and you will be the second structure, that is what innermost structure you will be. Then you are going to have a name, you are going to have age and parents name, and you are going to play some roles. Okay, when I wanted to access the property of your parents, then you must access with a variable of yours. That means you can access the property of your own parents. That means you can't access the properties of others. So at that time, what we are going to do, I am going to create one variable for either son or a daughter. With the help of that variable, I can access the content of the parent, because the child or a son or daughter structure which will be going to be nested under the parent structure. Let me consider struct parent, and it will going to have some of the data elements. Then I am going to close the structure. Then I have again struct child. So here I am going to create one variable called C for this child structure. So at that time, I can access the content of this parent by making use of this structure variable called C, because this child structure is involved, or it has been embedded with this parent structure. That is what we are going to call that as a nested structure. A structure can be defined as a member of another structure, such structure where one structure is embedded within another structure. One structure will going to be embedded within another structure, so that I can access the members of outer structure with the help of this inner structure. That is what we are going to call that as a nested structure. So that here you can see that I have two structure. One is distance, struct distance, and I have two elements of this distance structure, that is int feet, float inches. I am going to close the scope of this structure. Again I have one more structure called room. So here what we are doing, instead of writing its data type, I'm just using that another structure as a member of this structure, so that I have embedded or I have included the feature of this distance structures to my room structure. Okay, so distance length and distance breadth. So after that we are going to close the scope of this structure called room. Okay, so here what we are supposed to do, so if I am including, that means if I am copying the content of one structure to another structure, or if I am using a member of one structure to another structure, so if I am using here, then from where I am getting the structure, that needs to be defined first. That is what the reason. First I have to take a distance. So this will be the outer structure. So from here I am going to take its member as a member of this inner structure. So that is what you can see here. So in the nested structure, the definition of embedded structure must appear before the definition of outer structure. So if I wanted to have a content, or if I wanted to have a members of structure here, I wanted to define it first. Then only I can take its member as a member of this structure. So that now distance is a one structure. I am using this structure as a member of my room structure. That is what the nested structure. And you can see one more example here. Struct date. So date is a structure name, and I have three elements, that is day, number, month, and I have a year. So I am going to close the scope of this date. This is what? One structure. And I have one more structure called student. I have one more structure called student. So there I have a register number, date of admission, date of birth, and I have a marks. So here you can see that I have embedded the content of this date structure into my another structure called student. So if I wanted to access the content of this date, I can access it with the help of this student variable, that is what? std. So let me tell you how we are going to access the data elements. std, first I have to write the variable name, then dot operator. Now I am going to write marks. I am going to write marks. So what it returns, whatever is there in the marks, that will going to be written. That means it will going to be written to the output statement. std.marks, it will be written. Then if I wanted to access the year of a birth, that means I wanted to access the date of birth of a student as well as their year. So how I am going to do that? std dot, I have dob. From where I am supposed to get the year? Do we have year in the student structure? No. Where it is? It is in the date structure. I have included this date as a member of my student structure, so that I can access the content of this structure called date. So after this std.dob dot, I wanted to access the year, so I am going to write it as year. Then it will going to give me the date of birth as well as the year. Only it is giving the date of birth, date it is giving. So here it is going to send the year also. This is how we are going to work with a nested structure. So embedded structure needs to be written. Then whatever the content I am including from other structure will going to be in the outer structure. This is what embedded structure, because it is including the content of another structure. This is regarding what? Nested structure. So next we have a array of structure, last topic. What is this? So if you consider a student details or employee details and all, how we are going to create a variable? For example, let me consider struct employee, and I have a int employee ID, and I am going to take only name, char name. And let me create one variable called even. Okay, so even is a variable of a employee structure. How I am going to access the employee ID? With the help of this even variable, that is even dot employee ID. I can give that as 1, 2, 3, and I have one more variable called even dot name of a size 10. Let me consider that as a Manu. Then this is what it will going to hold the details of employee 1. You just consider I have 1000 employees in my organization, or I have 10,000 employees in my organization. At that time, how we are going to do that? I am supposed to write E115 or E15.name or E128. So it will be long way to go, right? So In order to reduce this content, or in order to reduce the confusions and all, computer can do all these things, but being a human, I can't remember what is the name of a 1000th employee, or what is the ID of a 15th employee. So somehow that will be difficult. Then what is the possibility of having a stream of employees or a collection of employees? That can be done with the help of this array of structure. That means it is a collection of structure. Then what is the definition of this array of structure? An array of structure is an array. How we are going to define an array? It will be like this. Okay. So it will be like this. It will going to have a linear collection of elements. That is what an array of structure is, an array in which each element of the array is a structure. So let me consider, this is what employee, I am working with employee. How we are going to define the address of this array? It will start from 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So now what I have in employee 1? So that is what employee ID and name. Let me consider 1, 2, 3 and I have a name called Manu, and let me consider 2, 1, 2 and I will consider Janu. So what it indicates here, this single element of an array will going to hold my complete structure. So then no need to create this. So if I am using E, at that time E of 0 indicates the complete content of a employee 1, and E of 99 will going to give me the complete content of a 100th employee. So instead of creating E1, E2, E3 up to 1000 and all, I can create only one array of variables, array of structure. If I am creating, at that time it will going to help us in order to hold each structure as a single element of a structure. So here I can have any number of array elements, and each element of an array will going to hold a structure. And I have one more definition. It is a collection of structure put together as an array. What it is one structure, this is one structure, this is one structure. It is just what we are putting it together as a collection of elements of an array, and each element will going to be acts as a structure. That is what we are going to call that as a array of structure. So here you can see that struct student, I have a register number, name, combination and fees. Okay. Instead of creating S1, S2, S3, S4 up to S10, how we are going to create an array of structure? That is what I have to specify the name of a variable. Within the square bracket, I have to specify a length or a size. So what it indicates? It will going to have a collection of S of 0 up to S of 9. S of 0 will going to hold the content of student 1, and this S of 9 will going to hold the content or a structure of student 10, because array's index starts with 0. So what if you have 10, the maximum size will be 9, because index starts from 0. So this is how this array of structures will going to work out. And I can also see that here S of 0, that will going to have register number, name, combination and fees. So this is what each will be considered as an element. So this line will be considered as an one element of an array. So I can have any number of elements in an array, and each element will going to act as a structure. And initialization can also be possible for the array of structure. Here you can see that info S of, how we done the initialization for the structure. You just recall the employee initialization, how we done that, employee E1. So then we are going to use opening of flat braces. Within that I am going to write the content. At last I will be using closing of a structure. So here also we can initialize array of structure. That means it will going to have more than one element as a collection of structure. How we are going to do that? Here I am not using any of the size, but if I am giving a square bracket, that indicates that it can have a size. That means it can have a array of structure. That is what we are doing here. Info is a name of a structure, and it contains of register number, name and fees. And here I am going to close the scope of this info, and I am creating one variable called yes, which is of the size. I am not specifying how many elements I am going to take. Based on that, it will going to assign the size for that. So info is a structure name, and variable is s of size, that is s of array, that indicates that array of structure, then equal to opening of flat braces, what is the value of first variable, or what is the value of this s of 0. So it has a register number 1 and name is Lavanya and fees is 5,500. Same way, and I have second element or a second structure which will be considered as the second element of an array. 2 comma Manasa 6,250 rupees, then 3 Sanjay 6,000 rupees, and the fourth element will be Sahana 5,900. This is also another way of initializing the array of structure. At last we are going to close the scope of this structure initialization. I hope you all understood with this array of structure and how we are going to do the initialization for array of structure. It's all about structure chapter. I hope you all understood all the concept of a structure. Let me meet you in the next session with a new chapter. Until that, keep learning, keep on growing. Thank you.